I have 6 hours free time before going to Saigon. Today I would like to tell everyone a small story in Vietnam. Not Laos or Cambodia, I won't go far today. In 2004, a friend asked me to prepare documents to open a joint stock company, and invited me to contribute capital. I accepted, agreeing to apply for a position as a member of the company. The company's office was located in a building my friend had built a few years earlier in Bien Hoa City. This land was near a police unit. I later learned that before liberation, it was a vacant lot, opposite the old cemetery of Hospital 7B. Before liberation, it was the hospital of the old regime's army, where they buried the unclaimed corpses of soldiers from the other side, Viet Cong, after the Mao Than incident in 1968. Before that, when leveling this land, the construction workers dug up a lot of bones, roughly wrapped. Many of the remains were not intact. 4.5 coffins, along with quite a few ceramic urns with bones inside. When building the foundation of this house, my friend dug up 3 more sets of bones in 2 coffins, one of which was located between the land boundary with a neighboring house, 2/3 under the foundation of the neighboring house and 1/3 on this side. Because the other house did not agree to dig and take this coffin, my friend had to accept it, accept the original state and continue to build on top. That was a mistake. The house was built, demolished, repaired and rebuilt many times. For many years, until now it is still not 100% complete. My friend used this house as a hotel and company office, and left 2 rooms for living. If we follow the concept of inverted land, or evil land, then this land is exactly the concept of inverted land. Work is always not smooth. Internal chaos is always present, and countless strange phenomena often occur. During a long vacation, I stopped by there, at first just to check on the business. But seeing many unusual things in the house, I decided to stay for a few days to see what happened. The house was quite modernly designed at that time, including a ground floor and 4 floors. The ground floor is used as a living room, lobby, reception desk, and ancillary area. From the 2nd floor up, each floor is divided into 5 rooms with full amenities and clothes, used as hotel rooms, and 2 rooms for the homeowner. At first, I stayed in the 2nd room of the owner. In the evening, when I had free time, I often asked the receptionists and 2 rather old security guards, divided into 2 shifts, day and night. It was early June. The weather was very hot. I came home from work quite late, around 12 o'clock at night. As soon as I got out of the car, I saw quite a lot of people gathered at the door of the reception desk. I walked in. All the hotel staff and company staff, because my friend had built another row of houses for company staff about 100 meters away. In the middle of the main hall, there was a sofa. I saw a girl sitting, her head bowed. Around her were 1 or 2 boys standing around, looking very panicked. I asked a cleaning lady, "What's the matter, miss?" She timidly said, "The little employee was possessed." Brother, she had been possessed 3 or 4 times like this, and this time it was very serious. She broke the flower vase on the altar of the earth god, then cried and asked for food. Hearing that, I curiously walked in, sat down on the sofa in front of the girl, took out a cigarette and lit it. The girl still kept her head down, occasionally tilted her head to glance at me. Her eyes were sharp and ghostly. I had normally talked to this girl 1.2 times. She was a very beautiful and polite girl. Her name was MT. I asked her, "What's wrong with you, MT?" She was silent and didn't answer. Her head was still bowed. I stood up, walked in front of her, lifted her chin with my hand, looked straight into her dull eyes and glared and asked, "Who are you? Where are you from? If you don't tell me, I'll cut your throat right now." My mouth said. My hand grabbed the fruit knife right on the reception counter, let go of her chin and grabbed the girl's neck. My hand was cold as if touching a dead body. The girl quickly raised her hand and bowed to me repeatedly. Her mouth stammered, "Uncle, I beg you, I beg you." The man's deep voice and stuck. I have exorcised many times and encountered cases like this, so I don't need to try. People often test by putting a cigarette or incense stick on the possessed person without letting that person see. If that person is startled and has a reflex, then it is a fake possession. The possessed person has no reaction when burned like that. The possessed person speaks the language of the dead. If it is a man, it is a man's language. If it is a woman, it is a woman's language. If it is a child, it is a child's language. With a very difficult voice. The two jaws are clenched together. Not clear and distinct like many clips I have seen online. They speak as if they are trying to force it out. Very tired and tongue-tied. Limbs are cramped, limp and look very scared. Eyes are wide open or glancing around. If the spirit is lying, and demands to smoke or drink alcohol. Things they used to use when they were alive. I asked the spirit, "Who are you? Where are you from? Tell me the truth or I will press you down and nail it to your skull so you will lie still forever." I have broken the teeth of Chinese and Cambodian ghosts that are much stronger than you. I once exorcised a Chinese ghost in Cambodia. This ghost was so strong and terrible that my glass of water on the table turned into a glass of black, smelly sewage. Seeing how scared I was, it laughed out loud. The way I exorcised this evil ghost was very simple. No rituals, prayers, or spells. We pressed it down the tube. It was very strong, and breathed a very foul smell. Tied it to its knees with braided straw rope, and 3 brothers stood in a row. Asked it to stay or go. Then put a gun to its ear and fired a whole magazine. After just 1 shot, it flew away. Peed its pants. Until now it did not dare to come back to possess. Almost 20 years. The same with the Cam spirit. Lit a fire. It read something in its mouth and hissed like a snake, extinguishing the fire that the shaman lit to scare it. I just went over, pulled out the gun, loaded it, and put it to its head like an execution team. Fired a humanitarian shot at a death row inmate and shouted, "Are you going?" 1. Bang. 2. Bang. Grazed my hair. Before the 3rd shot it screamed loudly and flew away. Did not dare to come back, even though it had previously possessed a whole Vietnamese Cambodian family in Tonle Sap for several years, making them miserable, and some people went crazy. Many shamans came but could not exorcise it. It was a love spirit homosexual. The southern people called him gay. Committed suicide by drowning in the lake since he was 19 years old. He brazenly publicized his name and address about 20 kilometers away. Committed suicide in 1963. He said he was cultivating and about to become a demon. But 2K54 shots passed over his head. He disappeared without any begging, coaxing or pleading, and has not returned since. The spirit remained silent and bowed his head. I told the receptionist, "Honey, go to my room and bring down my gun backpack. Let me see how fierce this guy is. Today I will blow your brains out and see how cool you are." I shouted to threaten him. The receptionist had not yet left when the spirit hurriedly begged, "No, no, I beg," and knelt down, drooling. He clearly stated his name and place of residence. He lived about 3.4 kilometers away and was hit and killed by a freight train at the age of 17. 1974, not yet liberated. Because of the chaos of war at that time, no one claimed his body. He became an unclaimed body and was buried here. He lost half his face and 1 leg. No wonder when I looked at his face. One of his eyes was swinging like a pendulum and the other eye was rolled back. He asked me for a stick to lean on. I told my friend's family to burn him a fake eye made of papier-mâché, a fake leg, a stick, and a lot of clothes, votive money, and then he begged for food because he had been starved for a long time. Some of his family members had escaped abroad and some had died in the chaos. So no one cared for him or made any offerings. I went to the place where he said his house was a working-class neighborhood near the train station. There were no traces of the past. Only a very large tamarind tree remained. He said his house was next to that tree, but now it was gone. There was only a newly built house owned by a young couple who were workers in the nearby industrial park. They said they only had a handwritten document from a landowner who owned the land after 1980 to buy this land. The tamarind tree was in a dense bush that they had to clear because the tree was so big that they didn't want to cut it down and leave it. The tamarind tree rarely bore fruit, and if it did, it was inedible because the fruit was usually half rotten and fell off. When I told the staff to go buy food for the spirit, he ate very well. 3 large packages of sticky rice, a portion of stewed chicken, 5 balut eggs, drank a small bottle of Levy wine, smoked 3 cigarettes and said goodbye to me, then limped out the hotel door, fell into the bushes wolf flower. When the employee got up, She looked around in confusion. Not understanding why everyone was standing around looking at her in the middle of the night, she didn't understand anything. Didn't remember anything, and couldn't eat for 2 days because her stomach was so full. I stayed there for a few more days, and witnessed many strange things that happened after that. During the day, I often saw wet footprints going from the toilet below to the room above. Sometimes the footprints went into my room. Sometimes they went to the next rooms. Once both footprints looked like an adult was leading a child. Sometimes the footprints looked like half of them were missing and covered in mud. But around and inside the hotel there was no place with mud or fields. The cleaning lady also said, in a room on the 3rd floor, every time the refrigerator door was closed, a moment later the door would open by itself, and there was always a half-drunk bottle of water left on the windowsill. Even though there had been no guests staying in the room before. I only heard her tell it and didn't witness it. I only witnessed one thing. That day it was raining and there was a live football match at around 2 o'clock. I woke up to go down to the hall to watch the match. Then I saw strange signs. The pair of shoes I left under the bed was missing one. Looking under the bed I saw the shoe was only about 3/40ths of a centimeter away. I reached in to get it. My hand touched something like a human hand. Soft and very cold. I jumped up quickly, bowed my head to look under the bed, but there was nothing. The night light was very clear, there was nothing. I left the room very confused, not knowing what I had just touched. Looking to the next room, I saw the lights on inside. So there must be guests staying there. The windows had 3 layers. In addition to the glass layer, there were 2 layers of curtains. One layer of thin curtains was lowered. The other was tied to both sides. Looking through the door, I saw 2 men drinking. They had to be sitting with their backs to the door. On the opposite bed was a small hotel table. The double room should have 2 beds. On the other bed, there was a boy about 7 or 8 years old sitting facing the other 2 people and me at the window behind them. He was smiling. He must have seen me, because the house was surrounded by glass and the hallway was very bright. I went down to the lobby to watch the game. The 2 staff, the old security guard was sitting and watching. I saw the security guard lying on the lazy chair watching football with the 2 receptionists. I teased him, "You are lying there. The lobby door is closed. The passenger bus is outside. The thief has taken it all away." He smiled and said, "Today there are no guests. The thief is also at home watching football. Don't worry, boss." After the first half, I suddenly woke up. The security guard said there were no guests today. So why is there still someone in the room next to mine? I told the 2 receptionists and the security guard what I saw earlier. They all said there were no guests. Could it be that he saw wrong? I just woke up. I never drink beer or alcohol. Could it be that my eyes are seeing things? To prove it, I asked the security guard to come up. But the room next door was indeed empty. Everything was still neat. The key was neatly placed on the table. There was only a strong, fishy smell in the room. When I went downstairs, the 2 younger brothers and the security guard told me some strange stories there. Like one time when all the brothers were sitting there, a family of 2 adults and 1 child came to rent a room. After handing over room 303 to the guest, the younger brother went down to the lobby to continue chatting. Then a phone call came down. The guest wanted to order food. One of the guys went to buy it for the guest and brought it to that room, but there was no one. Everyone rushed to the rooms to look, but there was no guest. One time at night, the 2 younger brothers were sitting there when 2 men came down from upstairs. They did not go to the door but turned to the lobby. One younger brother ran after and called, "Brother, the door is this way," but the lobby was empty. The lights were bright and not a single person. One time a woman came down complaining that it was so noisy she couldn't sleep. Then she walked straight out, crossed the street in front of the hotel and disappeared right through the opposite fence. Before the eyes of 3 or 4 people. One day before Tet, there were few guests. 3 or 4 people gathered to smoke and eat watermelon seeds. Then suddenly everyone wanted to faint because of a person standing in the middle of the lobby. No one saw how that person entered. And when, it was a beggar. Dirty, tattered clothes, holding out his hand to beg, although very scared and surprised. The younger brothers still took out change to give to the beggar, not forgetting to give some candy and watermelon seeds to the beggar. This person just nodded without saying a word, then went out. Everyone looked at each other in amazement and then ran out to look after the beggar, but that person seemed to evaporate right after leaving the hotel door. The street lights were very bright, and the straight road was deserted. One time on Tet, the hotel had no guests. The staff came back from New Year's greetings and organized a hot pot meal right in the lobby with the boss. My friend, all more than a dozen people were eating and drinking. At that time it was only about 9 o'clock. Suddenly a group of people from the hotel came out. Across the lobby where everyone was sitting, they were dressed in rags. Some were wearing raincoats, some were carrying children. Everyone was stunned for a moment and then panic and chaos. The events all happened late at night, 9-10 o'clock at night. As for me, 2 days after that day, the next day I had to go back to work. In the middle of the night, around 1 o'clock, I suddenly smelled a strong smell of ether and a fishy smell that rushed into my nose. I stood up from the computer, tiptoed to open the door very gently and looked out. At the end of the hallway, there was a person with one leg amputated up to the knee, still wearing a white bandage. They were not using crutches. Even though I opened the door very gently, they still knew and turned their heads. They were leaning, looking towards me. I walked out into the hallway and looked at them. They were wearing old, torn black clothes, with something like a washcloth hanging on their heads. They were skinny, with one leg amputated up to the knee, still wrapped in a white bandage. I walked slowly towards them step by step. When I was only about 5 or 6 steps away, they suddenly jumped up and sat on a potted plant in the corner of the hallway right behind them, and sat with their legs dangling below. Seeing me still approaching, in the blink of an eye, they disappeared very quickly, leaving only the smell of ether and fishy, stinky, just like in a hospital. I got goosebumps and sweated. Even though I had faced them many times, I still had a creepy feeling. Now the company office is no longer there. That building is almost abandoned because the mortgage loan from the bank has expired. My friend does not want to think about that house and intends to pay off the debt to get the house back. For many reasons, besides the economic issue, there are many reasons from the strange things that often happen there. Up to now, the construction has been going on since the early 2000s and is still not completed. Every night the sounds of chiseling, scraping, clanging and clanging as if the masons are still working hard inside resound, making those who are nearby feel confused and get goosebumps.